What up, what up, what up? Just want to make sure the audio is working. I gotta make sure I'm close enough to my mic and all that stuff. Joey, Gasp, Solstice, what up? Rojogan, one of my favorite names. Kolshi. Yeah, we'll check out anything you guys want. You just let me know, throw it in the chat. I don't have anything like specific to cover today. Just figured we talk about charts. There's some interesting setups on at least Bitcoin. I don't know about anything else necessarily. ETH obviously hasn't moved. Sounds good, says Agent. Thank you, appreciate that. At least I know I'm not talking to myself here. 18K. 18K BTC? Like, what are we talking about here? I hope not. What are you doing to us? Gosp, get out of here with that nonsense. Get the frick out of here. Let me just close some other stuff here. So we do have a Discord now, which I've kind of fought against for years, but at this point we have subs on the YouTube's paying. Is it this one? Yeah. So I feel like I need to implement a Discord because of that reason. You know, people want to have a chit chat with me. And that's what we're going to do on Discord. So the way I have it set up is anybody can join, but there are a lot of rooms that are hidden unless you connect your YouTube to Discord. So it's kind of a pain in the rear, but if you're a member and you connect your YouTube with your Discord, you get access to the membership part of the Discord, and in that you'll see the trades I'm in. You'll see more discussions on different coins and whatnot. The link for the Discord is in the description of the stream. But if you need help connecting your Discord, let me know. If it's a problem, I know there's like some doxing concerns potentially. You can always make a separate Discord account and then connect your YouTube account. It's not perfect, I'll admit, but kind of is what it is. At the moment, just because again, I feel like because people are giving me money, that we owe it to them at the very least for some sort of live chat situation. So yeah, if people hate it, we can do something else. I don't know what else we do, admittedly, but yeah, but that option is there for anybody who wants to connect on Discord. See, chart-wise, you know, not too much is going on. I have to try to mentally sort this in my head so that the timestamps are legible. I think we'll start with the majors. I didn't think we would actually keep going here, mainly because of this TKC clamp on the cloud on Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin breaks down, everything's going to break down. You know, Bitcoin drops 5%, alts drop 20. That's just the way it is. Today, I don't think there's anything. A bunch of the crypto equities are down. S&P's kind of flat. Q's down slightly. Regional banks, oddly enough, have been looking pretty good. I'm not going to touch that, but the chart does look decent. Anyway, so what I've been watching on the 4-hour is this ascending triangle, specifically on Bitcoin. And we can slice and dice this a bunch of different ways. You know, we can look at moving averages, we can look at pivots, we can look at chart patterns. So far, so good. This looks okay. This looks good enough for me to long, which is what I'm currently in at the moment, a BTC long. I don't love it. I don't feel super comfortable, but it looks okay. You know, again, just because the downside is 32. So for me, stop loss is any lower low, which would be out of the diag support. Cloud doesn't really help you here, honestly. for me. Like all that really matters is this chart pattern. Similar to ETH, right? ETH has that ascending triangle. That's all that really matters at the end of the day. This looks ugly, but it looks good enough for me to take a stab, right? I'm open to people on the other side of that equation. If you're bearish, you let me know. We'll talk about it. But the only reason I'm bullish here is because of the chart pattern. You know, we've got obviously news, catalysts, ETF nonsense, right? That doesn't look like, at this point, it's probably going to be January. Doubt that we get anything in December because of the way they keep pushing back the comment periods. You know, they're not going to approve ETFs when there's active comment periods. And that's just like part of the process, right? In between these delays in the applications, they have this comment period for people to, you know, shit talk the ETF or say we need one, whatever. Most of the time it's people concerned for whatever reason. So the way it's lining up, let me just see if I'll pull up the latest James Seifert chart. He just tweeted one out the other day. Is this just the ETF or the ETH? Okay, that's just the ETH. We'll take a look at that. I'm just trying to find his latest. He added the custodians, which is great because Coinbase is basically the de facto winner here. You know, it's funny, they don't want to approve one ETF and be the kingmaker, but with Coinbase being the custodian, for 9 of these, they're effectively making Coinbase the king, right? Here it is. Okay. So that is ETH. It's impossible to see. So this is the list. I mean, this is a big list, but this is Bitcoin and ETH. Anything other than Bitcoin and ETH is unlikely to happen anytime super soon because the SEC thinks they're securities, right? So, you know, we can say anything we want about Solana ETFs in the United States, but that's probably not going to happen anytime super soon, at least not with Gary Gensler at the helm. At the very least, they don't even like ETH, you know? I don't think he has actually said that he thinks ETH is a commodity publicly, no matter how many times people ask him. Anyway, so all these deadlines are kind of lining up to early January. They're even delaying some of these early so that they can make the comment periods tighter, which is their analysis on the Bloomberg side saying that's why they're doing this. They're denying like hashtags. I don't know if it's even on here. Yeah, so this hashtags one they denied, not denied, but delayed. And there was another one that they delayed early. Anyway, so probably not December, which is fine, honestly. Like, let's keep edging the market, and people just keep buying the rumor, buy the rumor. I'd much rather have that than the finality of ETFs here. Nobody cares. We sold the news, whatever, right? So let them just keep delaying it. It's going to happen inevitably by halving. So sure, as long as it's, even if it's not active by halving, I think that's okay. I don't think it really matters at the end of the day, but it's just funny the way the market is trading around this. These are the ETH products that are isolated. Again, the custodian, Coinbase for all these, right? If you look at the custodian side, Coinbase for everything. And they are not going to approve ETH before Bitcoin, most likely. You know, if they did, that would be a pretty crazy turn of events. And these are both the physically backed lists. And if I had to guess, they probably take the ETH products to the last deadline, if I had to guess. But it might depend on how well the Bitcoin products end up launching and seeing what issues go there. But anyway, looks good. This is classic halving related stuff, right? We're getting flows relative to we're getting liquidity. Yes, there's a potential recession. Yes, the Fed could cut because of the recession. Yes, the jobs market is the jobs market. Yes, the leading indicators look terrible. We could list off 25 things that say there's a recession coming. I get it, but this to me is how you'd want to line this up if it's going to matter for the next period. The question has always been, where are the flows going to keep coming from as this stuff gets bigger market cap wise? This is one way that happens. And as the market cap gets bigger players can, instead of jumping into the pond, they can jump into the lake, and then eventually they can swim in the ocean, but they need a market cap that they can get into without creating a massive splash in price. The other question people are talking about is, where is the coin actually, the physical coin, where's it actually going to come from? And I don't really know, because that's a good question. The GBTC conversion could be part of that. They have a ton of coin. There could be some sort of deal struck between the people holding that in Grayscale with BlackRock. That's an option. They could go in the open market, which I think is the least likely. They could go to the US government. The US government has a ton of coin. I don't know exactly how much. I thought it was around 300,000, 350,000 BTC. The Grayscale Trust has like 650,000 BTC. The third option was mining it, and I don't think that's quick enough personally. If BlackRock was mining the Bitcoin for the trust, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But maybe it's a combination of all that. Maybe it's a combination of that plus OTC. I don't know. I don't know where they're going to actually get the physical coin from. It doesn't look like they're buying it currently on the market. The same thing for ETH. Where are they going to get the ETH for this stuff? No idea. Not sure. Anyway, that's the ETF conversation. Still looks inevitable, still looks fine, still looks exactly how we'd want. The other thing is we're seeing, where's there even, maybe CryptoQuant has this? There's been this question for people. As far as we have physically backed products already in Canada, and Germany, I believe, has one. And the question they are asking, which is a fair question, is why aren't people buying those products, which they have been in a bigger way recently, but they hadn't been just continuously buying. There's this argument like, these products already exist, why aren't people buying them? Well, Access is one, outside the US is another. They don't have the BlackRock name, that's another one. I'm trying to find, what is it? Maybe ETF? This is CryptoQuant. I know they had it at some point. What is it? Purpose? No. Maybe it's here? ETF? Purpose? I don't know. I have to find it. I don't have a good chart. If somebody has a good chart somewhere, I'll pull it up. But anyway, the flows for this non-US physically backed Bitcoin products, they have been rising recently. Could the ETFs maybe share the same stack of coins? No, they're going to need to be isolated. Ideally, we'll know the addresses to some degree. I think we'll be able to tell on the Coinbase side where a giant stack of BTC is sitting, so that'll help. That'll be helpful from the on-chain analytics perspective. I don't think we'll really know until after it launches what those flows look like per se, because you kind of have to put the pieces together where the Coinbase custody side sits. But eventually we'll be able to figure that out for sure on chain. I have zero doubts in that. What's up, Callum, Agent, Wick, Lars? Audio is good, says Callum. Good. Discord enjoyed hearting the RIP message. What else we got here? What are your thoughts on NQ, ES, and S&P? We'll look at that. Today we got a massive sell-off. Gabriel says massive sell-off. I don't know about massive, but yeah, across the board, including legacy, there's this risk for a retracement. on lower time frames just because everything's kind of gone straight up, So this is my viewpoint on BTC, and if this breaks down, the entire market's going to break down. That's why even if you're not trading this, even if you have zero BTC, you need to have an opinion and understand what's happening here, right? For alts to succeed, they either need Bitcoin to consolidate, stay sideways, or they need a kind of wealth effect activity or bullish market activity to do well, If Bitcoin had been breaking down for the past 2 months, it's unlikely that Solana would have magically just, kept going. So alts definitely need some positive moves at the very least in Bitcoin. So I like up here at the moment for Bitcoin. I like up here for some alts at the moment. But again, that risk is this, this is the risk, is this TKC clamp. And look no further than 3 other times this year when that happened, right? Eventually, if this goes nowhere price-wise, you're going to get a bearish TK cross on the daily. And at that point, I close my leveraged positions as well. Because that's also telling you, be careful, momentum is dead. And it's time to get out of the pool. That's just the cloud system telling you that, right? So it's warning you. Now, another thing we can look at with the cloud that I never talk about is the Chiku span. The Chiku span, when it gets into price, is another warning signal that momentum is flat. Be careful. So you can see here, right? So you have to look 30 periods ahead. So what would 30 periods be? It would be right here, right? So if you're ever looking at this like retro backtesting it or whatever, you have to remember that the lagging span is literally 30 periods back, whereas the cloud is 30 periods forward. But you can see now we're kind of at risk for that a little bit here too. We got plenty of room. We got what? How many days? We got like a week. So shit or get off the pot in a week. Okay, that's what the Chiku span is telling you. By the time the Chiku span is inside of price, we may see that bearish TK cross as well. I'm just trying to see, depending on how it lines up. I don't have too much experience looking at that live. So the Chiku span into price may be first, but the TKC clamp is the first thing that's saying be careful up here, because that's basically a bearish divergence. We got bid up really quick and went flat. The next thing would be the Chiku span, and then the last thing would be your TK cross on the bearish side, telling you to get out. So there's going to be plenty of warning signs if this doesn't actually break. What's I think the least likely is that you get all those warning signs and then it breaks up. I think that's unlikely, obviously not impossible, but all of those cautionary signals act basically as a stop loss for you, right? Now we can also look at fractals, which have been excellent since 28. The way these work is if you get a high, low, high, you get a support fractal. If you get a low, high, low, you get a resistance fractal. And they act as both trailing stop loss and trailing entry system. So currently the trailing stop loss would be 36.7, which makes perfect sense because that's also the diagonal support telling you to get out as well based on the chart pattern. And the resistance fractal is just any higher high, which also makes sense because that's the breakout trade of the chart pattern, right? So if you're ever not sure on chart patterns or the cloud or whatever, like there's always different ways to look at this. They all generally tell you the same thing, which to me is a good thing. It says there's confluence here for many, many reasons, but if we break 36.7, then things get interesting, to the downside. I would prefer if we actually break down. It's just that I'm positioned right now that let's give it a shot. Let's see what we got, right? Like if this actually wants to break out, it's got a week into December and we may break up. So I'm ready for that. But once we break the stop losses, I'm out. I'm out of everything. Not on the spot side, but definitely on the leverage side. The weekly cloud still looks good. The weekly candles are kind of worrisome because, by the way, no fractal support at all yet on the weekly. So currently your weekly stop loss is like 27.8. The problem with taking a long just blindly right here is that the risk reward is skewed against you, right? If 42 is your target based on the cloud, your support is all the way down there at 27.8 or whatever it is based on the cloud, the other side of the cloud. So the edge to edge to me still looks good. So I'm losing my voice here. Still looks good to 42. I think we hit 42 by the end of the year. I'm kind of worried that these candles are just green, 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 green. This is like, a plane flying straight up. Eventually it's going to stall somewhere, Ideally, we keep pushing this a little bit to 42, and then I'd feel more comfortable letting go of stuff even more, even on the spot side a little bit. What I think, where things get interesting is if we get to 42 before any news catalyst, then what do you do? Do we just keep holding? I think you have to. I think everyone's waiting for the news catalyst. I think on the day we should see some follow through, but it may be initially a buy the rumor, sell the news on the day, right? Because there's a lag time between approval and actual launch of the product. So I think the dream would probably be closing somewhere between 42 and 47 on the day. I highly, highly doubt we see anything close to 60, but I'm happy to be wrong. Because in the pre-halving year, we typically do not have continuation above the weekly cloud. The current trajectory of the path is exactly how it's always been. We have this massive run up. Let me open the index. We have this massive run up, right, in the pre-halving year to the weekly cloud, and then we do not have bullish continuation above that until after the halving. Same thing last halving, same thing in 2016, and the same thing in 2012. So that's really the main reason why I'm not bullish much past the weekly cloud. We may keep wicking above, right? It'll look like we're going to keep going, most likely, but I don't think we will. I think 47 is going to be tough. 50 would be amazing. I just don't think we get that. Happy to be wrong. We look pretty exhausted up here even, but I do think if we eventually get 42, maybe we even wick to 42 on the day of the announcement sometime in January. I don't know, but I just don't think we get much past the weekly cloud. Would love to be wrong, but I just don't think that happens. I don't even think, because of the way this news is setting up, I don't think we even consolidate at the weekly cloud, but we'll see what happens, At least in 2019, we had a long time. We had a ton of time at the top here. A ton of time. I mean, this was a Bollinger Band squeeze. This was a cloud move through the cloud. This was, we went from ascending triangle at the bottom to descending triangle at the top. And this was, how many days was this? Yeah, you had a full quarter to decide whether or not to get out of a position. I don't know if we'll see that again, but I think either way, I think it's going to be pretty obvious. Either we're going to see this massive euphoria nonsense wick where premiums explode, funding explodes, volume goes crazy, or we're going to see something like this where the late longers try to keep pushing this up and just can't, you know. Even at the top here, I don't know if you guys can see that because my fat face is in the way, but the volume at the very top of this surpassed the sell-off volume in November of the previous year. So that's again something else to watch. What do the volumes look like? You know, do do the daily volumes? This is a crazy thought. Do the daily volumes exceed the sell-off of the FTX move? I think that's going to be really tough to do. But that's something else to add to the checklist. If the daily volumes exceed November 10th on the news ETF day or whatever, then that is a massive be careful signal, because that's probably euphoria, you know. Who knows what price is going to be if we actually have that much buy volume, but yeah, definitely going to be interesting. We were also talking about this channel, which it's still there. You know, that's still a fair thing to watch. I just think at this point, the ascending triangle stuff probably makes more sense, but you could also use this as a sanity check, right? If we're out of this channel, you know, it's probably due for a pullback at that point. So mirrored in. Builder, good to see you. Weekly cloud overlapping with composite from January to 11. You mean NASDAQ composite on the weekly cloud, Walt? We can take a look at that. Yeah, Walt, hopefully you're here for the daily C-clamp explanation. If you weren't, you can just rewind it a little bit. What is the likelihood the broader market is going to fade the doomers? The doomers have been faded hard for the entire year, and they're kind of doubling down. Before I switch to legacy, we'll talk about legacy in a second, just so the timestamps are not all over the place. I'll talk about legacy in a second, but yeah, I think the doomers are still going to be wrong again. Do I use stop losses for spot? Not normally, because one BTC is one BTC, right, Wick? One Doge is one Doge, man. The only time I'm using stop losses is if I have some massive position on. We're so early in this cycle. What is a stop? Like, what does it really matter, right? Do you want to? This is up to you, right? This is your decision. One way you could play this on spot, as they say, leverage is for poor people. One way you could play this on spot is you're stopped out at 36.7 and you close half your position, 25% of spot, whatever it is, right? Some percentage that makes sense. I would never close 100% of your spot positions, but that's just me. And your bids would be all the way down here at 32. That's classic cloud key June bounce type stuff. The caution there is, again, this entire year, we've gone much deeper, right? We've gone deeper than the key June. We have not held the cloud as support initially. That's just this year, though. So, you know, you have to do what makes sense for you. For me, this would be this would be an excellent short trade, effectively, if this actually played out, right? If you were in cash from 36.7 to 32, even if we get this cloud edge to edge, right? That's the risk of breaking down, and that's what's happened all year, right? We have not held the cloud as support. Is this time different? Maybe. But even if we break down, I wouldn't even be worried about that. Who cares, right? We have halving coming up. If we can't actually do anything with ETF and halving, then we have bigger problems than a move below 32.5, you know? So longer term, I'm not worried at all. Alternatively, you could go to the weekly and say, you know, I like 32 on the daily, but I also like 27 based on the weekly key June, which is breaking the edge to edge rules as far as your stop loss. But like if you're looking for levels, I like 27, I like 25, I like 32. Below 25 and things get interesting, and that breaks every model. So not impossible, but that will break a lot of stuff. If we start crushing below 25, we're in a different territory for sure. There are some people, you know, Ben Cowan, who I watch all the time. I think he has great stuff. He talks a lot about, he probably talks about the downside more than the upside, and he'll admit that. But the argument people have for a pre-halving sell-off or post-halving, right? Something around halving has always typically happened. We had this, this was the Bitfinex hack down here, which was just after halving. Massive wick down, right? This was a 25% move on the week, and it was a 40% move from the top at that time. COVID was 60% from the top, 50% on the week, right? So 50%, let's just say 40 to 50. 40 brings us to 25. You probably can't see that on stream. 50 brings us to 18. Do I realistically think that we're going to go to 18? I don't. I think we'd have trouble at 25 breaking down. But if we actually broke down at 25, something else is happening, you know. We can talk about all of these breakdowns. 2022, yes, we had internal crypto problems, but that was also rates, you know, rising rate environment, inflation. We can talk about COVID. That wasn't really crypto's fault. Even in 2018, it was a mix of legacy markets and crypto bearish headwinds. The Bitfinex hack was clearly just crypto. You know, that wasn't legacy side of things. And then further back, I don't actually know. I don't know what happened in 2012. That was kind of ancient history before my time even. 2011, I feel like somewhere in here was something Silk Road related, but I think that might have even been pre-Silk Road. Anyway. The other side of this equation is if we do get that pre or post-halving scare, you know, that kind of acts like a spring because you wash out anybody who was levered up and anybody who hasn't had a chance to get in and wanted to has their chance, right? And I think if we keep climbing this wall of worry to 42 or 47 without a massive washout, people are still going to be waiting for that. So we'll see. I would love to move to 32 at the end of the day. I'd take it in a heartbeat. Just something to watch out for. So that's enough about Bitcoin, I think. The 200 week is also somewhere down here. Where's that? It's the 1400. I don't have it on my chart, I don't think. We'll just go to the weekly. So the 200 week is also at 30. So it depends what causes us to break down, right? If it's just technicals, I like 32. If it's some legacy bullshit, lower than 32 is completely acceptable. But if it's just crypto related, 30 to 32 to me is fine, you know, as far as a pullback from here. I don't know if we're bullish enough outright to just keep going here because we do look tired. You know, we do look awfully tired up here. And then there's ETH, which I literally have nothing to add. No one's, the thing about ETH is no one's even asked me about ETH, you know? Everybody knows there's nothing to say, which is funny. The problem here, from a trading perspective, is everybody knows this is going to move eventually, right? Eventually. That's like famous last words saying we're not going to break 25. Eventually this is going to move. The question is like when, how do you position yourself for this? Because you can't even rotate profits necessarily into ETH if you assume everything's going to break down, because it's not like ETH is going to magically hold its levels, right? If Bitcoin breaks down, ETH is going to break to probably 1800. I don't know what it's going to take, honestly. It'll probably take the ETF flows or the ETF inevitability later next year, mid 2024, for this thing to actually get going. If that doesn't help, then I don't know. I don't know what at that point. ETH kind of has Bitcoin's problem in 2018 with unit bias. People can buy 10 SOL, right? Versus 0.5 ETH. So from that perspective, on the retail side, there are people selling ETH to buy SOL or selling ETH to buy something else, right? Just because it hasn't done anything. I think that will help us, or that will help SOL. Sorry, that'll help ETH eventually, as people are like continuously wrong. They're late to the SOL train, so they're selling ETH. Then they're going to sell SOL, and they're going to be late to the ETH train. But those moves help push the charts to these targets, right? So people will start rotating into ETH probably by, I don't know, 2200 or something. And then people will start to FOMO, my guess, somewhere between 27 and 3K. And by that time, the move will probably be over, right? But that's how you get people trapped, and that's how you get those prices. So I like 27, I like 31. Maybe, so Bitcoin's 47 would be ETH at 35, right? Beyond 35 is highly doubtful for me. 3K, 28 makes total sense. I don't think we see this before Bitcoin's halving, So, yeah, I don't know. I have nothing else to say about it. Plan accordingly. I don't know. I still see people bullish ETH and like waiting, and I just feel like there's a lot more pain as far as opportunity costs for these people. I don't know what it's going to take. 2,600 and then 12, says Gosp. I mean, that'd be brutal. That is an interesting question, though. If we get like a COVID style sell off on Bitcoin, how low does ETH go? Imagine ETH like sub 4 digits. What is that? What percentage is that? 60. So it's about 50. About 50% from here would be ETH sub 4 digits. But that is a good question. So during COVID, ETH sold off 70%-ish. Yeah, I mean, we could see that if we get some nonsense sell-off because of legacy reasons. I obviously wouldn't count on that, okay? But if things really get moving, sub 1,000 for sure. Yeah, Wick, I agree. I mean, you'd have to buy there, right? You're down 70%. There's volume support down there at 12. There's volume support at 15. There's volume support at 18. I don't know. I don't think there's anything else to say on ETH, honestly. ETH BTC. Let me find that chart. ETH BTC, I also don't have anything to say. I mean, look, this looks just as bearish as it's looked, if not more bearish. Yeah, next car. The leveraged traders will get punished for sure. Even if we get a BTC move to 32, I mean, the amount of washout is going to be epic. Okay. ETH BTC below the 200 week, just above the yearly pivot, below the weekly cloud, below the weekly channel. you could probably argue some sort of bear flag down here. I don't think this moves in a positive direction until after the ETF gets approved, if that. Okay, so this is just based on flows. That's it. That's all there is to it. This isn't even a comment on the world supercomputer. Just is what it is. Absolutely is what it is. So if you want to eat happening on the ETH be my guest, right? What is this potentially to 3.7 is 31%, maybe 40% max still to go. Potentially, right? I could be way off, but this does not look bullish relative to BTC at all. What's the BS volume indicator you had on the right? So that is VPVR. Sorry, VRVP. They changed it. If you just type in VRP, it should pop up. I do think you need a pro account though to actually see this. And what it's showing you is volume at price versus volume per day. And for the most part, you can use these as support resist levels just based on activity at that price, right? So currently for ETH, there's not a lot of overhead resistance based on volume. That's another sort of positive for this trade idea. I don't know if it'll show up. What does VPVR look like on this, I wonder? On ETH BTC. You do have to adjust the settings. I just kind of make it up till it's small enough that makes sense. I have no idea what I'm doing, but anyway. So if this is accurate, there is a bunch of volume support at 0.4 for ETH BTC as well. You just got to be careful with crypto volumes and which exchanges you're looking at. I think this is the ETH index against the BTC index. But yeah, that's volume profile. Volume profile of the visible range. Are there any difference in the settings? What are my settings here even? So 250 is the row size, 100 is the value area. I don't think I've changed anything else. All I want to see really is like increments of whatever makes sense, right? In this case for ETH, it's like, what, increments of $50 or something? So yeah, if you're looking at volumes, you got to be careful because, Bybit volumes or Binance volumes are going to look a little different than Coinbase, for example, right? Okay, so Keith says it is free on TradingView. Anyway, that's ETH BTC. No real changes there. Do I want to talk about? Let's talk about. I gotta find the right chart. Let's talk about GBTC and ETHE real quick because I still think that those are probably the better trades still. One thing you have to dodge that they just talked about yesterday. So FTX is going to be selling. Thanks, Walter. FTX is going to be selling 750 million in grayscale stuff, apparently. Let me pull up. So it's 744 million. They got approval to sell this. Most of it is GBTC. And the rest of it is kind of whatever. A little bit of ETHE. So they haven't sold this yet. They will be selling it. There's still a discount here. So look, we can tackle this in a few different ways. It is a pseudo ETF. It is available to most people in the US, but not everybody. On the brokerage side, if you're thinking about like, where do the flows come from? It's people who have access to like what, their IRA, 401k. I don't know all this stuff exactly. I lost the chat. Hold on. Way too many windows open. Anyway, 401k, IRA, whatever, right? These are just like normal people money that can buy this stuff. There had been a massive discount. A discount has closed over the past year. It is through the weekly cloud, right? This is basically at Bitcoin's 42k level or close to it on the spot side. The discount has closed tremendously. It has, let's see, the white is GBTC. So the white is, GBTC is at 10%, ETHE is at 15% on the discount side. You're going to get sell pressure on the FTX assets side here. To me, this GBTC trade is probably just about done. I'm just holding for the inevitable ETF announcement. I think it'll see a pop on that day, and then I definitely want to be out of this completely, personally. That's something to watch. You know, if you're looking for a way to play Bitcoin. On the ETHE side, ETHE to me has a better setup potentially to 26, right? Just based on the cloud. That's another 60% move. It's got a bigger discount. So if you're looking for alternatives to spot, right? This is one of them that still has some juice in it, I think. I think the ETF news is going to be positive for Grayscale products because Grayscale is probably getting approved on the same day. There's an assumption that if the GBTC one converts, they're going to be able to convert the ETH stuff, right? So this is a lot of like hopium and if, but the markets, that's the way the markets are trading, you know? This chart still looks good to me. It might break down a little bit, whatever. It still looks good. It looks better than ETH spot, right? Certainly. It does have a little bit of a M double top thing here. It does have a TKC clamp, but I still like the chart overall. You know, over multiple months, it still looks fine to me. Into February at the latest, right? You're not holding this for like 6 months, but depending on where it is when the Bitcoin ETF gets approved, then you make a decision, right? Do you want to wait for ETF approvals on the ETH side, another 4 months potentially? Whatever, you know, this, I'm just like drawing the decision tree in my head. Like, what am I going to do here? Ideally, you get multiple trades. You can take profit on the GBTC side, right? I'm just, again, thinking for me, what am I going to do? Take profit on this, rotate it into ETHE, potentially, depending on what things look like on the day. But anyway, these products still look viable from a trade perspective. The other one that's moved a lot is coin, and some people have suggested that coin is moving the way it's moving because the discount on GBTC closed pretty substantially. At one point it was down to what, 8%, I think, on the day. So it was under 8%. So at some point, you know, the risk reward for that shrinks pretty substantially, just if you're looking at the discounts, right? So if you're looking at another crypto analog to trade, I was on the wrong cloud, don't kill me. If you're looking for another crypto analog to trade, coin is an option, right? They have the ETFs, they have layer 2 stuff. You know, look, I don't like any of these narratives in particular. The ETF custodian is the strongest argument for me. But that's probably why this chart has been moving the way it has. It also has technicals on its side. It's got a weekly edge to edge going for it. It looks fine. You know, even if this retraces to 108, I think that's a great place to pick this up. Not investment advice, but just based on technicals. People were talking about cup and handle with this. Maybe, right? You may get some sort of like diagonal cup and handle. Either way, whatever this ends up being, none of it is bearish. So is it overbought currently? Yes. Right? Does it have a TKC clamp here? Yes. 108 to 100, excellent to me as far as where I'd want to add to my position. on the spot, I was gonna say spot, but whatever you call stonks. So coin looks good too. Coin has fundamentals on its side. It has technicals on its side. It was absolutely beaten down since listing. Binance is out of the way. That's another argument for Coinbase dominance. On the stock side, Kraken, I have no prior knowledge of this, but I assume they're going to go public eventually, or at least try to. And then it'll be interesting. You know, Coin was basically the top of the market in 2021. It'll be interesting if Kraken marks the top of the market in 2024 or 2025. Just something to consider. Yeah, while I'm on the crypto equities, I might as well just run through them real quick. MSTR still looks okay to me. The question, I thought we dodged the leaf blowers. That's why I kind of started late. I was hoping they were done. They've already leaf blown 3 times, no joke, today. Why not 4? Let's go for 4, guys. There are more leaves to blow. MSTR still looks fine to me. It's still above the daily cloud. It's in this pitchfork, right? There's nothing to complain about here. On the daily, it does look like it wants to pull back to 425 potentially, but trend-wise, this looks excellent. It's even trying to get out of the weekly cloud, which is probably a little early, right? Similar to that spot side Bitcoin pre-having cloud stuff, if you know what I'm talking about. Once this gets going on the weekly cloud, which it looks like it's almost certainly going to, if you look at the weekly Kumo twist here, it's about to flip bullish. And once this gets going after halving, I don't know, what's some targets, some pie in the sky targets? 2,000 to 2,500 for MSTR. Is it possible? I don't know what the market cap would be. I do know that Sailor just bought in November. We'll see if it was added to the Sailor tracker. Yeah, so they did add it. He just announced today that they bought more. They bought more Bitcoin throughout November a little bit. And they also announced that they are selling more stock to 750 million to potentially buy more BTC. So that train is still running. Anyway, so it'll be interesting. I don't know the dynamics there, how that's going to work out once the ETF is actually here, because that's the other question. If you're trading MSTR like an ETF, and we have an ETF, is there competition there? Does it matter? I don't know. But this looks phenomenal, right? You can't argue against this chart at all. Looks really good. As far as the miners go, this is WGMI. This is the mining ETF. Most of the miners had a mega head and shoulders potentially. Any chart pattern always has like a break point, right? For the head and shoulders, it's the neckline. Until we're below the neckline, after the right shoulder is complete, then there's no assurance of the pattern actually working out as you'd expect. In this case, bearish continuation. Currently, we're above the right shoulder, which tells you we've probably nullified that head and shoulders, which was, people would say, questionable anyway. I think it was there, but it doesn't matter now. Here we're getting an edge-to-edge move through the cloud, potentially to 14. And the best case is that you just nullify the head and shoulders, right? So this looks good to me. I don't like the miners generally as a play, but the TA is great. It looks really good. I picked up some at 1050, I think, or 1004, something like that. Yeah, Joey's right. The one reason against the ETF versus MSTR is the fees. one reason for the ETF relative to MSTR is Michael Saylor. You know, if you don't like Michael Saylor, then you're going to buy the ETF. Anyway, so the miners look good. Most of the miners should look like this. They should have some sort of active edge to edge, right? Marathon. I don't know what was I measuring on this? I mean, I guess maybe I was measuring this. Like, if you want to call this a mega inverted head and shoulders, I guess that's what I was measuring. So that's possible. At the very least, it's got a daily edge-to-edge move that it's working on, right, on the cloud. The weekly cloud, this is another reason to like kind of take the miner seriously, is they are working on a weekly edge-to-edge, potentially to 43, right? I just think post-halving, it's going to be tough for the miners. Now, you could argue that the miners that actually stand a chance at surviving are very much worth investing in or whatever, trading. I think you just got to be careful with anything other than Marathon, Riot, CleanSpark, you know, the big guys. Riot, also similar situation. You know, it had this, first of all, it had this parabolic down move, right? that was 2021 and 2022. Marathon also has a crap ton of BTC. That's another reason to, if you're bullish crypto, then that's another reason to trade that. So Marathon has the weekly edge to edge. It also has the daily edge to edge. It also is canceling out whatever this may have been, right? So Riot looks good from that perspective. CleanSpark is probably the most bullish here based on technicals. It's already above the daily cloud. The weekly cloud target is 12, so it's another 50%, or sorry, not 50%, what, a 2x, right? So some of these miners, based on technicals, look good, right? I can't argue that. As much as I don't like the business model or them dealing with halving, they look good. They look good. And if you just don't know what to do and want something, WGMI is an option because it's a basket. Let me pull it up real quick. The funny thing about WGMI is because of the ETH ASICs, I think this was their justification for adding NVIDIA. So they've had NVIDIA in the basket too, which is kind of wild. And that's worked out for them, obviously, right? Let me find, I'm just trying to find the flows real quick, or holding, sorry, for this. So it's mostly Marathon, CleanSpark, and Riot. That doesn't work, that's too big. Marathon, CleanSpark, Riot, and then 5% NVIDIA. Anyway, that's what it's holding, along with some other miners at lower percentages. So I think it is one to watch into a bullish environment, right? Let me put this in front. All right, so those are the miners. That's coin, that's MSTR. Did somebody say BitF? What is that? Is that another? Oh, Bit Farms. Okay, yeah. So the miner, this one, you know, again, it's the same story, right? It had a parabolic puke throughout 2022. It's recovered. It looks decent, right? Upside would be 480, like a 200% move. I just don't know the business side of these miners well enough to understand what exactly is going to happen here, right? Because they can issue debt, they can dilute shares, they might have a bunch of debt. I don't know. You know, that's above me. You can always dig into that stuff. This is the same exact thing as the other miners. It's canceling a potential bearish continuation pattern It looks good, right? I cannot deny that this looks good. Back into the weekly cloud, plenty of upside potential. And all these weekly clouds are just the 50% retracement, right? It's not like a secret. If you take all-time high to low, the mean reversion target is the weekly cloud. That's how you get that target. But they look good. They definitely look good. Is there any other crypto equities? I guess BitO. These are worth looking at from time to time because they will kind of show you slightly different things, right? They're not 9 to 5, or they're not 24/7. They're 9 to 5. There's no weekends. Sometimes it cuts out the noise. To me, right now, this looks exactly the same as spot. This is the ProShares ETF. This is the biggest ETF. Daily TKC clamp. You can see that this is our future if we don't get moving on the spot side. The Kijun catching up to price. From a stop loss perspective, like that's ideal. You get a TK cross before we break down. If we do get continuation, you get a TK cross recross. But anyway, this is our future, right? If we don't get moving, is the cloud telling you, all right, it's time to get out of that position. Momentum has died. The Chiku span, just because I'm curious. Yeah, so the lagging span is almost into price. That's probably impossible to see on stream, but it's almost there. So it's definitely telling you, be careful. Be very careful with this trade on the long side as far as continuation, just because momentum has died off to zero, right? BitX is another one I like because it's a 2x ETF. It's done well, right? Same thing though, based on the cloud. It's telling you be careful up here. This thing just started trading earlier this year. But it looks good, right? It's above the cloud. It kind of ugly on the daily. Support would be 15 on BitX. But it looks okay. It's been very noisy up here, which doesn't give me a lot of confidence that this continues. We've had it's looked like this, right? Usually you see that at the top or bottom of something. So, yeah, anyway. Let me catch up with chat. Discord before an only charts account. Yeah. Thoughts on shorting Bitcoin after a confirmed rejection on the top? I mean, I'm not a big fan of shorting during the halving year, Builder, but I'm not going to stop you. That's an option. You can layer into a short at 42 to 47. I just think that's risky. You could get blown out easily, but that is an option. Couldn't Sailor change the game a little bit? I guess Sailor could change things. I don't know in what fashion. I mean, all he wants to do is buy Bitcoin. All he wants to do is sell everything that isn't nailed down to buy more Bitcoin. So I don't know what would change there. Leverage shares at the thumb button, blah, 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 blah. VS, we talked about that. We talked about VRBP. Talked about the value area. Yeah, so for the settings, I would just use whatever you think is best. I have no idea, right? I just wing it every time. People want me to talk about some alts. We'll do that in a second. FTM, Mina. I'll talk about Sol, DOT, AVAX, all that fun stuff. It's kind of the same as Bitcoin, honestly. There isn't too much to say here. We're just waiting for bullish consolidation confirmation. GRT, DCR. DCR, that is an old one. I know you hate XRP, correct? cup and handle on XRP? I mean, we'll take a look. Just tried to join the Discord and got an error. Huh. You shouldn't get an error. I don't think anybody, there's a bunch of people that joined that didn't get an error. So I think I can show this without doxing myself, but in the Discord, once you connect your YouTube to your sorry, I thought the stream froze. Once you connect your Discord to your YouTube account, you should be able to see more stuff in the Discord. And again, the reason I'm doing that is for the people who have paid for the membership, right? So you'll see extra chats that you wouldn't otherwise see. Yeah, I know that's like doxing people potentially. So if you don't want to do that, you can always just make some random Discord account and connect your YouTube that way. But anyway, that's an option for people, should you so choose. Such a weird stock for me to be bullish on. Sailor was planning on selling it forever to buy BTC. Yeah, Brian, that's the other thing. Like, if he's selling MSTR to buy BTC, like, how does it even work eventually, right? Doesn't it catch up with you? I don't know. I don't know how any of that works. That's beyond me. Joe Rogan says he's like the streams. He's had some trouble with family. Well, that's a good thing, Joe. I just try to keep it straight and level down the pipe. Glad it's helped you. Given some peace for Ro Jogan. I just try to stay in my lane, you know. Maybe miners will pivot. Yeah, so GB is talking about basically miners pivoting to AI, which is something that could happen. You know, they are basically data centers. They don't have the proper tooling, I don't think, based on, you know, ASICs versus like H100s, but they have the physical infrastructure. They have the data center capabilities. That's definitely something to watch for. And as far as like, what are the miners going to do if they aren't profitable? One thing that they could pivot to is AI, right? Like, that is possible, and they could just get acquired, you know. The same thing with like cloud services. Same concept there. So yeah, the Chiku span is just the same. It's literally price 30 periods behind price. So all it's telling you is whether or not momentum has slowed down or not. That's all that's really there for. If you are trading the cloud, let's just pull up BTC. If you are trading the cloud with all of the list, right? So what do we want? We want Kumo breakout. We want bullish TK cross. We want bullish cloud. And we want lagging span greater than cloud, greater than price. This is like the traditional checklist for the cloud. For some people, so this is my settings, right? For some people, they prefer to use legacy settings with the full list. And that's fine. For me, this is the first 3 parts of this checklist are slow enough that I can eliminate the lagging span and just go off the first 3 things, right? I don't need the entire list. But one way to do this is use traditional default settings and use the full list. When you're looking for, this would be looking for a long position, long entry position. So that's why I don't talk about the lagging span most of the time. But all it is literally price behind the current price. It's just basically mirroring the current price 30 periods back or 26 periods back, whatever it is. There's also some other like support resist things you can look at with the lagging span. I don't really talk about that either. Another use for this is if you're on candles, it gives you the line chart. You know, it's kind of like a shadowed line chart that you don't have to use the line for, which is kind of an interesting, you know, cuts off the wicks, right? So just for me, it just kind of makes the chart busy, and I don't need it, so I don't even bother. But that's all the lagging span is. It's just part of the entry checklist. And if you're bullish or bearish, you're just making sure that you've given yourself enough time for the trend to actually flip one way or the other. Like coming off of the bottom, right? The lagging span on default, this isn't even default, but it's close enough. So the lagging span on default was here. Your bullish Kumo breakout was here. Your bullish Kumo twist was here, right? So all the checklist was all green, right? Everything was telling you it's go time. Versus any other time previous to that in 2022, there was at the very top here, there was a little bit of that, right? It was a price, lagging span was above price, above cloud at that time. All these signals were green, but then you got a bearish TK cross. So it can help you some of the time. I don't use it. I think it's too busy. But the people who tell me they don't like my settings also tell me that they use the lagging span, which makes sense. You know, I just don't use the lagging span. I hope that that helps. But yeah, I just don't use it. I don't need it. Yeah, Joe. So if you go to, I guess I can show this. I don't think this will dox myself. If you go to user settings, so if you click the cog next to your name on the bottom of Discord, the bottom left, and you go to user settings, connections, Discord's hiding it because I have streamer mode on, but if you go to connections, then that's where you add your YouTube account. But if you just click the link in the description of the video, you can go to the Discord channel. Until you connect your YouTube account to your Discord account, you won't see most of the channels in the Discord. And as far as the Discord goes, we can, you know, whatever you guys want to do, we can do. I just figured I can show my trades that I'm in. I can keep an archive of that. I could talk about charts throughout the week individually, whatever we want to do. You know, there's no like rules there. Anyway, so that's Chiku span. I just don't use it personally, but I don't have anything against it. It's just not for me. Okay, that's crypto equities. I guess we'll talk about Sol and Link and all the other good stuff. Sol, again, like I don't have anything to add here. I just feel like I gotta find it. Sorry, I feel like the entire market is kind of waiting on Bitcoin here. This is alligator fractal for Sol, but I'll give you this for the Sol people. It hasn't broken down. Okay. Although I'd argue I'd feel more comfortable buying if it did, but you know, I get it. I get it. People want up only. I would feel better about a position 38 to 48 than anywhere up here. You know, anywhere up here, all I'm thinking is, okay, this is going to retrace the 38 to 48. Starknet airdrop. Yeah, Gasp, you know, that's another thing. I'm not the airdrop guy. But you're right. There are a lot of other reasons not on the chart that stuff like this does well. Airdrops would be one of them. What's up, Chris? The vibes are cautiously optimistic. The TLDR is everything is waiting to confirm bullish continuation. So on this, we had our 3 drives, we had our head and shoulders, didn't break down. And based on the fractals, if I pop on the Williams fractals and the alligator, we are probably good enough here to, as I said in the video, I think yesterday, this is probably good enough evidence to start opening a position again on Solana. You're getting prices closing above the previous resistance wick, and the MAs have flipped bullish again. This may continue to consolidate and be ugly and noisy, but this is the first time since holding up here that we've actually gotten a long entry signal. Other than that, I don't really see anything that looks great here. It's just, you know, it's noise, it's a mess. Something else you also have to think about is the yearly pivot is right here. It's at 66. So if this gets the momentum to actually break through 66, it should have a decent upside, but the problem is getting through 66, right? And we can also look at the daily cloud. Daily cloud is telling you same thing, TKC clamp. Everything has this. This isn't quite a TKC clamp, but you can see how the TK lines are continuing to diverge as we get this overbought condition. It's never a guarantee that you get a pullback. It's just telling you we're getting more and more overbought, right? It's just reminding you, saying, hey, we're overbought. Ideally, for the TKC clamp stuff, you want the Tenkin and the Kijun to flatten out. That just, again, tells you momentum is completely flat. If we pop on the Kijun, sorry, the lagging span, we're not quite inside a price yet. So we've got a little bit of time here. And it looks okay, right? Undoubtedly, this is bullish. The question I just have is like, look, this thing is up 175% in like 2 months. Does it really have another move in it right now? From a cycle perspective, I think it's fine. I think it has plenty of room to keep going to 140, right? No doubt. It's just right now, what do you do? So I like spot positions, sure. I'm not so sure about leverage positions for me personally here. But the alligator fractal stuff is good enough on the 8-hour, some random time frame. It's telling you, yeah, it's okay. Josh, don't be afraid. It's just we're up so much and we haven't really retraced yet, you know? So I'm just kind of on the fence about what actually goes on there. I would just feel more comfortable if this had some sort of pullback at the very least. The 8-hour cloud is also telling you be careful because that's a bearish TK cross up there. So like Rune, for example, has at least what on the 4-hour? This is what you want to see for bullish continuation. I'm not saying there's a trade here. I'm just saying you had your entire move, right? You had your consolidation. Price went into itself, right? The Chiku span went into price. You had your bearish TK cross, all that stuff. Now you're getting a bullish TK recross. Great. And the Chiku span is above price. So all this is telling you is this should be bullish continuation. This is actually one of the most bullish setups on the cloud for bullish continuation. Again, though, the problem is this thing is up 250%, okay, in a month. And is it really the time? Is now really the time? It could be. That just gives me some pause for what's going on up here. So I don't know, maybe I'm just too afraid for no reason. Maybe it's just like full send season. I don't know, you guys tell me. I don't know who's here trading this stuff, so that doesn't help either. Like I don't sense that retail is generally back. Not that we need retail, but there's also a nice Adam and Eve up here. So there's plenty of reasons why this could keep going. The next question is like, where could this go? If we take the high to the low, 8 to 850, maybe? Like, what is that? Another 25% move, potentially on Rune. Weekly chart looks absurd. But, you know, anything above 11 is careful, be careful territory. 10 to 11, I would be careful. So I don't know. Low time frames look really good. Weekly looks overextended. Daily looks okay. I don't know. That's a tough one for me. What else we got? Something else I was saying on the video on yesterday. Just like I'm looking at all these weekly clouds, like there are a lot of charts that look like this. AVAX, AVAX up here, right? A lot of these charts could have 3, 4, 5x potentially. It's just a matter of like, how do you want to play this, you know? Like there's plenty of options. There's SNX, there's AVE, those look okay. Zcash and EOS I would stay away from, but they also have decent looking charts, you know? DOT doesn't look quite ready to me. But collectively, like there's a bunch of options, you know, at the end of the day, it might not even matter. The darlings of the cycle are going to move more than any other coin, but there's still plenty of options to trade here, you know? I agree, Kazi. Kazi says runners don't give you a pullback most of the time. I agree, but the market, again, in this pre-halving year, do we really have enough people here to support this price action? I don't know. Do we have the flows into alts? I don't know. I don't know. I agree, Chris. He's saying like, look, maybe he's midwinning here, but I feel the same. I don't feel comfortable longing the high caps that are already up 2x in a month or 3 months or whatever it is. It just feels early to me. Like, I think this stuff is going to move, right? I think we'll be okay. It's just early for mega bullish continuation, I think. Now, look, if Bitcoin goes to 42 plus, then yeah, alts could get ridiculous. So as bullish as I am on Bitcoin, it doesn't really make sense for me to not be bullish on alts. It's just some of the stuff has ran up super, super quickly. No, I didn't talk about AVE specifically yet, but we can talk about it. You know, again, it's not even about like the fundamentals. It's not about DeFi. It's not about any of that. It's just the chart looks good enough, you know? Compare this to Link. It looks like Link did before it broke out, you know? Link had a tighter consolidation, maybe. Different situation there a little bit, but Link also looks like it's consolidating here and wants to keep going. It doesn't look pretty, but it doesn't look bad. I just, until this stuff actually breaks out, it's hard for me to like want to add or size up to positions here, you know? Other than Bitcoin, I'd feel better if Bitcoin started to break out above 38 a little bit, then Sol above 61, Link above 15, you know, maybe AVAX above 22. I'm just like alt averse, so I don't even want to think about these alts because I feel like the downside is always zero. So that's just me. But yeah, Radium. Did this actually move again? I don't think it did, but because we talked about this a couple streams ago, and I tried to find it on the US Kraken, and it wasn't there. But, you know, look, this looks like Cardano. This looks like any other alt. It had a 95% drawdown. It went sideways for a year. Sure, right? Like, it doesn't really matter to me what this is. Sorry, I'm just making sure I don't mess up my charts. It's what, a Solana DEX, right? You know, you can list off XYZ reason why on a fundamental perspective it looks good. I'm not going to disagree, but ultimately it's gone sideways long enough that it has a shot. That's it. Cardano the same. It has a shot, right? Do I want to be the guy that says don't trade Cardano because it's a piece of shit, but it went to 169 from 40? You know, who's the piece of shit then? What is that? That's a 300% move, right? So yeah, I'm gonna be watching Cardano. Okay, this looks like a cloud setup I trade. It's got chart patterns. It's got tons of stuff going for it, other than what it actually is. You just have to dodge the regulatory risk. You have to dodge delisting. You have to dodge nobody caring about this thing. You know, like nobody talks about Cardano other than the Cardano people. Nobody. Okay, it's lucky enough that it's on top of the market cap list. All right, if you guys want me to talk about anything else, let me know. I got a list here. So Sol.AVAX. We talked about FTM. That was another one that did decently well, right? Over the past month. So this chart, you know, I kind of like in my head mentally, similar to this giant list of weekly clouds. In my head, you kind of have to like stage like where we're at in the cycle for some of these. So to me, like ADA looks better than FTM, but FTM looks okay, right? Like I'd want this into the weekly cloud. From just a range perspective, it looks fine. Atom is another one that looks very similar to this, where it looks like it'll be good eventually. I just think it's a little too early. So, you know, it's all about what do you want to allocate into. I can't trade your book for you, but I'm just saying like all this stuff could move, probably moves after halving, has a decent setup, undoubtedly. But I just think it's a little too early based on the weekly cloud. Daily cloud looks okay, right? It's above the daily. It's had a massive bounce. Based on the way I trade, I'm like a buy and hold warrior over multiple months. So I would rather buy and hold this in the weekly cloud than like massage this thing for the next 6 months, you know? So one thing you can do is add an alert for this. We want crossing the, is it lead 1? I think it's lead 1 in this case. Actually, I'll just simplify that. We're just going to say, we're just going to make a line. And we're just going to add an alert at 40:38. Okay. Right click, add alert, horizontal array once per bar, create, done. Don't have to look at it until that alert hits. So yeah, that's how I would treat that. Mina. Same thing, you know, like, look, I have nothing else to say about it. I wouldn't touch this, but technicals, yeah, maybe. You know, it's a little too early on the weekly cloud. I don't know. Like all this stuff, it's down so much that if the entire market gets a bid, so that was what, 95%. If alt season comes back, yeah, all this stuff has a chance, right? GRT, that's the graph. I think the graph has done decently well. Yeah, so again, these charts look good. I can't deny it. You can't deny double bottoms. Double bottoms look good. This looks like ADA. This looks like anything else, right? The question is just which moves first, which lags, which coin, because all these technicals basically kind of the same, you know? Some sort of double bottom over multiple months, consolidation for multiple months. Solana and Link moved first because they had probably more eyeballs on them or whatever, whales trading them. But some of this other stuff looks exactly the same. So it's just about what you prefer, you know? The targets, I'm probably even low if you want to hold this stuff over an extended period of time throughout the cycle. You just really have to dodge delisting. So the farther this stuff is down on the market cap, the more security it looks like. Is Coinbase going to have a mega delisting party? Maybe. The US does not like alts. Okay. Does Kraken have a mega delisting party for US people? Maybe. Does that hurt price? Probably. So I would just consider that on some of this stuff. DCR. Oh, baby. What is that? Why does Polo a wick down there, like on every chart? What are you doing over there, Justin? Wow. I'm speechless. No, so I really like the cloud. Anytime it's down only for 2 years and then price goes flat, right? I'm going to say it's the same thing. It's Consolidation City. Some of you probably weren't here for DCR in 2020, but man, did people get bullish on Decred for no fucking reason. Sorry, my language. Yeah, there were a lot of like BTC adjacent people who got super bullish on Decred in 2020. Anyway, falling wedge, check. Maybe bullish cloud soon on high time frames, check. Approaching, I even say here, falling wedge. Look at that. Look how smart I am. Approaching horizontal support, check. This looks okay, right? Like, I'd much rather take a YOLO gamble on this here than at any point over the past 2 years. This looks okay, right? Now you could argue last time this broke out, we had a kind of like Solana, right? This like inverted head and shoulders type thing. So if you're conservative, you probably want to wait for, let's just set an alert. Why, I have the account to do it. Why don't I do it? All right, we're going to set an alert at 14 and never look at this chart again. Horizontal ray, once per bar, boom. Okay. But I mean, look, it doesn't look horrible, right? One other thing to look, obviously, for all of these is the Bitcoin chart, because I'm sure there's, yeah. I mean, you're talking about all-time lows here on the Bitcoin chart. So look, here's my question. Is Decred getting an ETF? As I say, is your shitcoin getting an ETF? That isn't to say this won't have a move eventually, right? But against the BTC pair, you're probably not doing so hot. That is an all-time low. Anyway, that's Decred. Let me just look at Zcash for fun. Because this is always, anytime I talk about an alt selling off to zero, this is all I can ever think about, right? Like, there are literally people who've held this thing since 2017. For what? What are they hoping for? To get back to 2017 levels, you need a 3,000% run. Okay? 3,000%. What are you doing? What are you doing? At any point here, you could have said, oh, it's at an all-time low. It's going to turn around. This chart looks abysmal. And It's had tons of bull divs along the way. It just doesn't matter, right? It's until the tokenomics of this thing change, as is with most alts, it just doesn't have a chance. Now that doesn't mean you can't catch a move on the USD pair, right? On the USD pair, again, I like that this thing has just been death for 2 years. And let's set another alert at like 36. It looks okay. Maybe it has a move in it. I don't know. But I'm not going to touch this thing right now. As long as it's listed, this is any coin on an exchange. It has a chance. Gosp wants me to look at GRIN. Yeah, GRIN was another one that had... did it get delisted everywhere? I think it might have. So GRIN is Mimblewimble. It has like a privacy component to it. It had a really front-loaded supply schedule. So there was tons of inflation. You know, look. I wouldn't expect a miracle on this one. Just not great. It's supply, it's inflows versus outflows of miners. You know, there's all sorts of reasons why coins look like this, but ultimately there's just not enough people buying and there's more sellers. That's it. All right, XRP. Sorry, Ripple person. I put this one off as much as I could. All right, Ripple. Where do we want to go? Polo? Let's go Polo. He said cup and handle, I believe, was what he said. All right, we'll look at KDA next. I mean, honestly, the best thing I like about this chart, maybe I have it on stamp. Yeah. So the best thing I like about this chart is the diagonal support. But yeah, Big Mac parity is 515. Almost hit that in 2017. But there's nothing here, you know. Look, it's just a choppy mess. I don't know. What do you want me to say? Maybe $1. I don't know. What does it look like on the BTC pair? I actually haven't looked at this in a long time. Just looks like death. You know, it's, as they say, dead money. Just ranging. You could draw a line and say, look, until it's above that, I don't care about it. Whatever that is in Bitcoin terms. Is Ripple getting an ETF? I rest my case. Yeah, Brian, Big Mac parity is just the price of a Big Mac. I know that varies around the world, but I think it's around 515, right? What does anybody know? I haven't been to McDonald's in so long. Because there's like this Big Mac index for global Big Mac prices. I don't actually know. I guess it even depends on your state. Like, I guess California, your Big Mac price is going to be insane. All right, KDA. Yeah, I wouldn't touch XRP. I wouldn't hold it. I wouldn't think about it for more than 5 seconds. What else is there to say about it? I don't know. I don't have any good things to say about it. Sorry. KDA. Is this an exchange token? 529 says Kazi. Okay, so yeah, I don't know what KDA is. It might be an exchange token. But, you know, it looks like everything else, right? As long as you know what you're looking at on any other chart, you can say, yeah, maybe this is a giant inverted head and shoulders. Maybe it's an Adam and Eve. It's definitely a daily Kumo breakout. Where could this go? What's the next resistance? Horizontal resistance would be like 91. The weekly level doesn't exist. So yeah, the high time frame cloud is also telling you 91. Doesn't look horrible, but neither does anything else, right? So it's just an opportunity cost thing. You just have to search within yourself to find your favorite altcoin, if that's where you want to live, and go for it, right? The worst thing you can do is similar to being like at a checkout line at the grocery store. You know, you think you're in the long line, you pick a line, you think you're in the long line, so then you switch to the other line, and then that line starts moving faster, and then you switch back, right? That's what you don't want to do. So I would have some sort of conviction on any of this if that's what you're doing, is jumping between alts. All right, a few more, and then we'll talk about legacy, and then we'll wrap it up. SC, Sia coin. Oh, man, you people with your alts. I mean that in a loving way. Sia coin, another extremely dinosaur coin. That it's like the cred, right? This to me looks better than Decred. It's farther along in the cycle. It's broken out of the consolidation. It looks okay, right? Where could this go? A penny? 2 pennies? What is that? 300%? I get it. You know, people trade this because it's got massive percentage moves. I understand that. I just think you have to be careful about delisting ultimately. But it looks fine. Again, all these charts are going to look about the same. It's just a matter of which moves first, which do you believe in, which is going to get delisted. Eventually, some of these are going to get delisted, like Tornado Cash, right? That got delisted. Oh, man. Classic DeFi, right? Protocol works great. Makes total sense. The token is useless. Literally less than terrible. What is the Binance? I guess it's gone, right? Because it got delisted. That's the worst part about these delistings, is the data's gone forever. Unless they make an index. I don't even know where to look other than Poloniex, but Sia looks like coin, says Walt. I guess. I don't know. Like, but again, all this stuff. Would I rather trade coin or Sia? I would rather trade coin, personally. I get it that there's less of a percentage upside here, but you could also measure the fibs. It's all going to tell you about the same, but DCR, Sia, Cardano, whatever it is, all look about the same. Yeah, INJ. So kind of like Rune, it is trying for bullish continuation. I think up here, you know, I wouldn't touch it. It's probably approaching an all-time high. I just feel like you're late at this point. I know Gosp isn't. He's been in it from like 0 cents. So I'm just saying generally, it just looks a little late to me. That doesn't even mean it's not going to have a great like cycle move. It just looks like it needs to relax a little bit. But look, it's at an all-time high. I mean, that's great. You know, it's better than an all-time low. Where could this go, I guess, is the question. 20 to 22? I mean, realistically, if you want to take like all-time high to low, 35 to 43 would be the level. But that's realistically the next level to me based on all-time high and local low. GFI, sure. FBTD, Goldfinch. Is this like one of those racing coins or something? Is this some like NFT card game or something? Actually, no. This is This is what? This is like lending and borrowing, right? Like Maple? You guys can tell me. This is the kind of chart where this is the exact thing we're just talking about, right? Like it had a mega monthly consolidation. It had inverted head and shoulders, ascending triangle. At this point, I think you're super late. But, I would want to know why this has moved. Like, is this literally a Ponzi? Are they buying back tokens? Like, what are they doing here? So I would be really careful. Is this a real world asset play as well? I don't know. I don't know anything about it. So yeah, don't listen to me because I have no idea. Less than no idea what this thing even is. It looks like somebody started buying it, right? Tons of volume. Not sure, but it is okay, so it is like Maple. Okay. So it's lending and borrowing. It's, what is it? It's like KYC DeFi, right? Where there's like specific pools of capital. I think that's where DeFi's headed at the end of the day. Like the real money is going to be KYC'd. I have no idea about this token, so I take that with a grain of salt as far as this token goes. But what it had at the bottom is what you need to see, right? This is where these charts move like this is where you get, you know, like Link, like ETH right now, like all these other charts. But it looks really good. If I was in this, what would I do? Absolutely nothing. I would just let it do its thing. And if it retraces, I'd buy more. Because if you had early enough conviction to buy this, like, are you selling for like a 2x, 10x? Like, what's your level, right? So have a plan, right? 950, is that your level? 980, 12? Anyway, just have a plan. But we're so early in the cycle that stuff like this, if it has a real deal bid, who knows where it goes? Who knows? Yeah, so he says, I can't say his name because it's a swear word. BTFD, BlackRock and Coinbase. Yeah, interesting chart for sure. Now he tells me to look at PEPE, and you know, guys, why PEPE? Thankfully, this chart looks like just dog water. I hope this is a head and shoulders. I hope this goes to zero. Look, a fool and his money are soon parted. I get it. It's a penny stock. People want to trade the meme. This is either head and shoulders or a diamond top. It's a mess is what it is, but it doesn't look bullish. Doesn't look like it wants to have bullish continuation. The best you can probably hope for is some sort of flag, right? But to me, all I see is like what this was, which was a head and shoulders. So I do think this goes lower. All right, let's talk about legacy, unless anybody has any last. Somebody had a list. What did he do? Oh, SNX. Okay. Yeah, so SNX, like AVE, kind of like a lot of these other coins, right? It looks good, right? It looks really good. I wouldn't even sell this at 4. I wouldn't sell it at 6. If I was trading this, I would want like 9+ over the next year and a half. Okay, that's just the way I trade it, or I would trade this. So this is definitely one of those, if anybody watched my video on Wednesday, this is one of those coins that I would just buy soonish and then hold for 2 years, potentially, you know, but I'd be looking for at least a 3x on this. So long as DeFi isn't just regulated to death again, right? You got to be careful about that stuff in the United States specifically, but this looks good, you know? It's consolidated for a while. It's been a mess, but it looks good. Definitely looks good. Yeah, SNX, again, all these charts have the potential for a massive upside move. It's just a matter of where the flow is going to come from. Is KDA going to lag? Goldfinch, right? Is SNX going to lag? Solana? Those kind of questions. But the setups are here for all those charts, for sure. For sure. So generally, everything looks good. But ultimately, we need Bitcoin to not break down, you know, for sure. All right, let's take a look at some legacy stuff. So Dixie, dollar index. We want Dixie. You know, Dixie is crypto's version of Bitcoin to crypto. We need Dixie to not be bullish generally to do best, right? Like crypto did terrible during 2021 and 2022. Dixie was parabolic, right? So to see the dollar be as bearish as it is currently is very reassuring. It's great that it did not continue at 106, that it looked like it wanted to until November. So, you know, this isn't something most people trade, but they trade it indirectly by trading risk. And if Dixie is bearish, risk should be bullish. So this is another reason why I think crypto continues a little bit here, is because DXY is super bearish. It has bounced a lot today, but I still think it looks generally on balance pretty bearish. If we kind of zoom out and look at the halving stuff, crypto's done best when DXY has been bearish after halving. So if we break 100 on DXY after halving, and we actually go to 90 again after halving, that's incredibly bullish for Bitcoin, for everything, as a tailwind. So that is something to watch for in the background in 2024 and 2025, for sure. It looks like it's well on its way to continue in a bearish direction. You know, it doesn't look strong here at all. S&P has looked phenomenal. People were super bearish at the bottom, including myself. I had it mapped out for weeks. Like, this is what I'm going to do when we go to 4,100. I didn't do it. Really, it was just like rotating U.S. Treasuries into the S&P and the Qs, whatever, right? It's bounced an insane amount. The chart still looks really good. It is very much overbought. You can see that on the TK lines here, right? Do I think we have the momentum to continue basically at all-time highs being this overbought? I don't think so. This probably wants to retrace somewhere. I don't know where, like 4,500, I guess. I don't know. I don't have a great read on that, but I think it's going to be hard to go to an all-time high without some sort of consolidation or retest at the moment. You know, there's also a gap at, what is that, 44? So maybe 44 satisfies the retrace gods enough, but cloud is bullish. It's got a massive cup and handle, and it looks ready for an all-time high retest. And look, if you want to bring in politics into the mix, this could be the one time where the S&P is literally going to all-time highs and the president doesn't get reelected. That'd be quite something. But it's very possible. And it's very possible even with a recession, this thing still keeps going. Completely possible. But that's something else to watch for in 2024. The Qs, very much the same. Extremely strong bounce back above the daily cloud. Very much overbought. For the Qs, it would be like 378 as far as a retrace, but very close to all-time highs. Very much ready for continuation. I mean, this is a phenomenal bounce on a legacy index like that. So those look really good as well. And we can look at the Mag 7. I think Amazon, you can say what you want about Uncle Jeff, but Amazon, the chart looks phenomenal to me. Absolutely phenomenal. And that's another question you need to ask, like, do you trade legacy over crypto? Probably not, but I'd certainly want some exposure to legacy. This is the regional banking index, and from a technical perspective, it looks okay, right? Like, this doesn't suggest that regional banks are going to explode. Potentially a double bottom here, potentially ascending triangle eventually. If anything, this may be bearish for Bitcoin if regional banks are okay, because regional banks exploding was good for Bitcoin. It'll just be something interesting to watch that I'm just keeping an eye on. But the chart looks pretty good. It doesn't look like turbo bullish, but it looks okay. Let's take a look at TLT real quick. Tons of people trading this. I'm not going to talk about bond auctions or reverse repo or anything like that, but this does have a daily edge to edge active. It does have inverted head and shoulders. It did have basically, capitulation type volume at the bottom. It had all the markings for something that is reversing, and that makes sense. The problem is the fundamentals. Our debt issuance is not going to slow down. It's going to keep speeding up. And eventually that's going to matter. So, yeah, good luck holding the 20-year or the 30-year, whatever, over an extended period of time. But just from this move specifically, 93 still looks very much on the table. The Mag 7. Did Tesla go to zero after Elon is swearing at advertisers? We'll start with Tesla. Man, what an unhinged individual, Absolutely unhinged. This is Tesla. It looks okay, just near term neutral. I don't have anything to say about it. I saw somebody drawing, actually, so I saw two things. People keep drawing this whole structure as a head and shoulders, which is hilarious. I think that's unlikely, unfortunately. But there's also this other case for some sort of inverted head and shoulders here. Kind of similar to Amazon. Probably better looked at on the weekly. Until this is above the weekly with bullish cloud, it probably just continues to range, but it doesn't look horrible here. Doesn't look horrible. I wouldn't play around with it here, but you could argue a bunch of stuff cup and handle. You could argue inverted head and shoulders. Doesn't look horrible. I just think it's your money's better somewhere else personally right now. I would want that back above the weekly cloud. Apple looks okay. All these charts are basically kind of like hanging out at highs, losing momentum. Daily cloud not yet bullish. All this stuff should want to retrace at this point. Microsoft at all-time highs again, crazy. I guess that was yesterday, but all the same cloud principles apply. It will have a mega TKC clamp. So the support's going to be all the way down here at 347 for Microsoft. But yeah, look, it's at all-time highs. What do you want? NVIDIA, after a fake out breakdown and busting above the right shoulder, it looks like it wants to continue to break down again. And I'll be right there. If look, I'm telling you right now, if we get anywhere below 440, I'm going to re-short through NVDS is the ticker. I'll take another chance, I'm happy to be wrong again. It's not like I take a massive position, but NVDS is the leveraged, as I'm leading the sheeps to slaughter. It is a leveraged short ETF for NVIDIA. But this chart looks okay, right? From a bullish breakout perspective. I don't know. Maybe I'm absolutely insane, and I think you have to be a little insane to want to short NVIDIA here, but it looks okay from a short perspective and from a long perspective on this chart. Like, this is the chart I long on crypto, so why not? You know, why not NVDS? Anyway, something if you're interested. Not that I recommend it, not investment advice, but if you're looking for a place to short NVIDIA, that's one way to do it. There's also this massive gap, right? It's like 318. So 440 to 318 would be a great trade. All right, that's NVIDIA. Looks angry. Google just kind of sideways. Not too much to say there. Looks okay. Neutral. Meta. Also sideways, but more bullish than Google, less bullish than Microsoft, more bullish than Tesla. Just kind of sideways. Now, Amazon, though. To me, this is one of the best looking long-term charts because it didn't really have a mania in 2021. So I do like this chart on a pullback. It's got an inverted head and shoulders. It's got the weekly cloud on its side. It's got everything I'd want from a technical perspective. And it's, you know, the biggest company, one of the biggest companies in the world. So I think it looks great from a technical perspective. And Netflix. Netflix looks okay, I guess. What can I say about Netflix? Yeah, it's above the weekly cloud. My problem with Netflix is, like, I feel like its best days are kind of behind it. The programming is kind of garbage now. I don't know. Looks okay. I don't have anything really to say about it. Roblox. Yeah, that chart. Let me look at Hood real quick, and then we'll get to that one. The funny thing about Hood, so ARKW is selling their coin position and buying Hood. Look, maybe I'm crazy here, but I think coin's gonna have a bigger run than Hood. You could argue Hood is at the bottom of the range, I guess. I don't know. It just seems like a terrible position to reallocate into. Roblox. I can't believe this is actually a chart. But as much as I laugh, you know, it's got everything we've been talking about with any other chart. I'd much rather buy a ranging instrument at the top than at the bottom. That's just me. And this looks good, right? What's the 50% retrace? 81. That's a 2x. That's a 2x. Sure, right? This is all sorts of things. It's inverted head and shoulders of some sort. It looks okay, right? It looks okay. What else we got? I guess ARKW we can look at. I forget what's exactly in ARKW. But this, you know, look, everybody who has a brain, it was bearish on the ARK products, and I'm right there with them, but the technicals look really good for this stuff, right? What is the weekly chart here? The weekly edge to edge for ARKW is 100. The weekly edge to edge for ARKK is 78 from, you know, so that's like almost a 2x. I think what's in these products is a pile of junk. But if we're really going to have like liquidity come back to the market and things go wild again, I mean, we saw GME have a little pop for no reason whatsoever, right? Did AMC move at all? No, AMC is still at all-time lows. Yeah, CleanSpark and BitF I looked at a little bit earlier. Another one to keep on the radar, though, is Square, just because they have a decent amount of Bitcoin as well. This chart looks like the ARK charts, right? I think ARK is in, or I think Square is in those in ARK. Anywhere? Anyway, I can't talk. This, to me, kind of looks like Bed Bath & Beyond, you know, where it had that massive descending, broadening wedge or whatever. It's not really that, but it kind of reminds me of, it's not even a chart anymore, is it? The ticker's gone. Man, ancient history, BBBY. Anyway, from a, like, they hold a bunch of Bitcoin, right? So that's another potential legacy play. Doesn't looks like it bounced like phenomenally, obviously, but I'd still want it a little bit higher to be confident. PayPal was another one that looked absolutely horrendously awful. Still kind of does. They got a Wells notice for their stablecoin, so they're trying to do something with crypto, but I don't think it's really going to matter for them. I wouldn't want this until it's back above the 3-day cloud. You can just see like how much this thing has sold off, right? So 76, realistically, we can say this is a falling wedge and all that stuff, but I would wait if it was me. Disney is another one that had a falling wedge that broke up. Had a inverted head and shoulders at the bottom. Looks okay, but it's still not quite bullish enough for me to buy and hold, you know. But it looks okay, just okay. Thanks, guys. Yeah, give me a like or whatever on YouTube. Subscribe. We got a Discord now. If you guys have any more questions or want anything specific there, if you're a member of the channel, you can connect your Discord to your YouTube account, and you'll get special access to more rooms in that chat on the Discord channel. The Discord channel link is in the description of the video. Yeah, Goku. So what chart were we just looking at? Square? The King's Crown, not Square. What was it? Crap. Roblox. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking the same thing. So I'd never heard this term. So when the shoulders are bigger than the head, I've seen this over and over and over again. I've never been able to find what the actual name is. But Peter Brandt the other day on DXY, oddly enough, called this a King's Castle. Sure. Still, it's a triple top. It's a type of head and shoulders. But you can kind of see that with Roblox, right? It's like an inverted King's Castle. I just think if you say King's Castle, no one's going to know what the heck you're talking about. So you have to say head and shoulders. But you're right. If that's what this is, Burns, yeah. King's Castle. King's Castle it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's all I got for this one. Losing my voice. Just watch Bitcoin, you know? I mean, if you are bullish on anything, you want to see Bitcoin break up, hopefully here. That's all I got. That's all I got for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe. Discord's a thing now. If you want to talk about whatever in there, I'll be around. I'm always online. So Yeah, Burns, I talked about CleanSpark earlier. I think it looks great. I think all the miners look fine. It's bullish on the weekly, right? Or the daily? It has a bullish Kumo breakout on the daily, almost bullish Kumo twist on the daily. It has a decent upside on the weekly. I personally like CleanSpark the best from a business perspective because hash rate relative to market cap is low. They have a ton of hash rate, but they don't have a lot of value in the company, the market cap. I think Mara and Riot are having the strength that they have because of the Bitcoin they hold, not because of the mining business side. That's just my opinion. Next live stream is next week, Thursday, 2 p.m. EST. Sorry, Goku. I said Burns. The King's Castle. The King of the King's Castle is Goku. It's official. King of the King's Castle is Goku. You're right. All right. I'll see you guys either tomorrow for Ledger stream, Ledgercast, or Sunday for Set of Sunday. See everybody later.